Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl Treaty LPC, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast. I appreciate all the love and support that you guys have been sending in. Thank you so much for the feedback from last week's episode. I know Stephen was an absolutely amazing guest, and this week I also have a very amazing guest with me who's going to be sharing a lot about their history, their life, and their testimony, as well as a book that they recently released in December. Her name is Jacquie Hamilton, and she wrote a book called I Need Thee. She is an author, she's an educator, she's a mother, a grandmother. She's an all-around great person, and she's going to be sharing so much about herself with you guys today, and you're going to fall in love with her stories just like I did. So welcome to the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast, Jacquie Hamilton. Thank you so much, Jacquie, for taking time out of your day to speak with me. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, and thank you for allowing me to be here.
Good. I'm glad. I'm so glad when I saw you on the site, I was looking for guests for the podcast, and I saw you and I read a little bit about your story. I'm glad that you agreed to come on the show to be able to talk a little bit more about who you are. So if you don't mind, just please take a moment to share with the audience a little bit about who you are and why you wrote your book, I Need Thee.
Okay, so like you said, my name is Jacquie Hamilton. I'm a resident of Greenville, Alabama. I'm a mother of 3. I'm a grandmother of 2 grandsons.
Okay.
I'm a special needs educator. I have my own business called Just Jay's Events. Um, I'm a member of Indian Hill AME Zion Church.
Okay.
I'm an Order of Eastern Star. I volunteer, do volunteer work in my community. I have a women's empowerment group called Sparkle and Shine.
Oh wow.
And also I am I runs a nonprofit organization called Joining Jalen's Fight in honor of my son Jalen, who has autism.
Oh wow. So
yes.
You are
and I'm an author.
Arthur, yeah, you are a pretty busy lady with a lot of amazing things that you have done. I mean, you shared so much of yourself even in just your intro there. And so I definitely want us to be able to dive a little bit deeper in some of those things that, that you've been able to do. It sounds like you're really active in your community, from
Yes,
your church
ma'am.
community to having a nonprofit, doing events, like you just kind of all around go-to person down there in Greenville. So I already know your family and your friends are going to be so so excited to just kind of hear you put on for your city, so to speak. So thank you for what you do as an advocate.
Okay, so my book is I Need Thee.
Okay.
And I chose the name I Need Thee because for me, I need thee could be anything. When I say thee, I mean it could be I need a relationship with my parent. Thee could be I need guidance.
Okay.
I need help.
We all need that.
I need thee could mean I need to learn to forgive, which is a lot of what my book is about. It was a trip of forgiveness.
Wow.
I had to forgive someone, and it was hard.
Yeah.
But writing my book was really the therapy that I needed that I never got.
Yeah.
Thee could be a lot of things.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you wrote this book, and it sounds like you said it was cathartic for you to be able to get that out and be able to use writing as a tool for your own healing, which I think is absolutely amazing. I know I use journaling with a lot of my clients and having them do what we call narrative therapy. And this kind of sounds like what you did was narrative therapy for yourself.
Yes.
The forgiveness piece, was it difficult for you to write the book and write through some of those experiences?
It was very difficult, actually. It was hard to. It was easy writing the book because the memory is just there. It's like it happened yesterday. Okay. It was hard writing the book because of the memory.
Mm. Yeah. Is it hard for you to talk about that? Like when you
It's
really think
hard.
about,
It's
yeah.
Let me just say, this is my first interview. And
Mm.
like the whole time I'm just getting myself together and I'm saying, don't break down, don't break down. Because it's very hard to talk about.
Yeah. I can imagine, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and allowing yourself to open up. You know, I'm not your therapist, and we're not going to do therapy on this podcast. But you know, if you fall apart, I definitely have the tools to help you put back together before we get to the end of the episode. But I know that in the book you talk a lot about your experience growing up. You know, and being in Alabama, experiencing a lot of different things. I'm sure that even just come with being someone growing up in the South, in the rural South at that. When you talk about that, why do you think it was so important for you to tell your story and share your experience with the world?
I think it's important for me to share my story with others because it gives others the courage to share their stories.
Yeah.
And it was a powerful way of healing myself.
Yeah.
I don't know, it gives people a better understanding of me and who I am. Mm-hmm. But most importantly to me, I think sharing my story with others, I just wanted to let other people know that you don't have to hold your offender's secret.
That's good. You feel like a lot of people struggle with being able to speak their truth, especially when it comes to dealing with assault and dealing with a history of, being violated by someone.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that can be really challenging. I think the statistic says 1 in 4 women have experienced sexual assault at some point in their life. And
that's funny because I read something and it said, well, the one I read, it actually said 1 in 5 women in the U.S. experience rape or some sort of sexual assault from someone that they know and trust.
Yeah, it's real. I'm myself personally, I am 1 in that 5 or 4, however you choose to whatever the statistics you looking at
right
say. And I know that it's really difficult, and it's something that when you go through something like that, unless you're one of those 1 in 4 or 1 in 5, you really don't understand the impact that has on your life. So for you experiencing that, you said you didn't go to therapy ever after.
I never went to therapy, and actually I kept a 30-year secret.
Wow.
In my book I say that I'm 40 and I'm still fucked up. Yeah.
Well, I'm almost still fucked up. So we got that.
Right in my book was it was my therapy.
Yeah.
It was my therapy.
Gotcha. Do you think you would ever see a therapist? Is that something you've ever considered?
Do I think I need to? Yeah.
Okay. You think you need to? Would you ever though?
Yes.
You would? Okay.
Yes.
Good deal. I'm all for writing it and being cathartic, but like when people go through stuff like that, like I always talk a lot about on this show, I'm very open about my journey with mental health and my history. And as a therapist, I'm a therapist that I tell everyone I will perpetually be in therapy like forever, because I feel like it's just something necessary for my own growth. But I'm always going to advocate for that. But it looks like you were able to use this book as a tool to help you grow. So when you talk about like in the book, I know part of it is dealing with your history of sexual assault, but another part of it is also dealing with having an absent parent and not having a parent there. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience and what it was like growing up for you, dealing with losing or not having a parent that was actively there?
Okay, so up until I was 12, when I did live in a 2-parent household.
Okay.
And we lived like the Huxtables.
Okay, Huxtables.
we went on family vacations. We had movie nights.
Okay.
Yeah. After my mom and dad split, it was different.
Okay.
It was different, and I had to adjust. And that adjustment, it shaped me into the person I am now, which they can read about in my book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely want people to read about it in your book. But, that's something a lot of people go through. Like, some people start out with two parents and then things happen and the one parent leaves and the other one is there to kind of pick up the pieces, so to speak.
Right.
And that adjustment is a lot. I grew up without either parent. I grew up with my grandmother raising me. And so my experience obviously was a little bit different dynamic wise, but there are a lot of listeners, and I know that probably have grown up in a situation similar to yours, where I feel like divorce or like even splitting up to a child, that it's almost like going through like losing,
Oh
a
my
loved one
God.
to.
Oh my God. It was like, why y'all can't stay together?
Yeah.
Like, I need this stability. I needed it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. But it shaped you though. Like,
It did. It
yeah.
did.
So sometimes things do happen, even though we don't think that they're the best for us. And obviously that decision wasn't the best for you, like mentally as a child. But, growing up in a home that's not healthy, if the two people aren't in love anymore, or they can't work it out, that could also be really detrimental. So that's one of those things that it takes.
And I was a daddy's girl. So it was like, God, it was, yeah. I was just like devastated.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot to do. That I've seen that happen with a lot of adult children who have gone through divorce. Specifically, like, how a lot of parents like, oh, I'm just gonna wait till everybody graduates. When they graduate, then we're gonna split up. And then they get to college and it's like their whole world falls apart because they find out their freshman year in college that their parents are divorced.
Because they thought everything was okay.
Right, exactly. And I don't know, like, I always wonder, is it better to do it and have your experience of it happening when you were a child, when I think you said you were 12, than to have it happen after you've lived your whole life, you go to college, you go away or whatever, and it's like, my whole life was a lie. Like, what is this? Can I trust anyone? Do you think it impacted your ability to trust in any way, as far as like you being able to form relationships as you grew older, not, having your dad leave?
Phew. Relationships, I don't know. I've always felt, and I guess maybe that has more to do with maybe what happened to me, that I don't trust anyone. Relationships just feel dangerous and unsafe for me.
Yeah.
Whether that's friendship or relationships.
Wow. Yeah. That's a tough situation to be in, but you've been able to develop so much resilience throughout your life, it sounds like, and I know they can read more about your story and hopefully be able to gain and draw strength from the story, the things that you have gone through as it relates to that. I know you also speak a little bit, even in the title of your book, it's about, overcoming.
Right.
What stuck out to me was like that resilience and what helped you. I know that writing the book was cathartic and it was a healing experience for you, but what role do you think religion played in your growth, in your journey, in terms of being able to turn those negative experiences into healing experiences for your future?
It's funny because I asked my brother this question, and in my book I talk about how me and my brother, we think alike. We're very similar in so many ways, and the word I'm about to use, he used the same word. But God plays a heavy role in my life. And really my main focus is just like keeping that connection with him, and just building a better relationship with him. I'm not perfect. I try to do things by the book. But I don't know. I just I just, God plays a heavy role in my life.
I know you mentioned that there's a lot of community advocacy, church involvement, and were your members of your church or your family, were they supportive of you releasing this book and letting this part of your life be so public for the world to see?
Well, initially I didn't tell anybody that I was even writing a book.
Oh, okay.
No one knew that I was even writing a book except for like my best friend. Afterwards, yes, everybody was, even family members. And I thought some people would be like, feel a certain type of way about it. And everybody been really great. I've got a lot of good feedback about my book. So yeah, they've been really supportive, very supportive. Good. Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes people be hating. Sometimes people don't want to see you, walk.
And there may be some secret hating. I don't know. You know that how they are now. She thinks she all that because she wrote a book.
Right.
No, that's not. I just wanted to share my story. And because I think I held it for so long that I wanted to get it out. I needed to get it out. And I think that that my book will help somebody else.
Absolutely. So speaking of it helping other people, I know you're an educator. You've done a lot in terms of, your own personal growth. What would you say to other people who have experienced similar situations to what you have experienced?
I would tell them definitely tell someone. I would tell them it's not their fault. Okay. I would tell them that they're not alone. I would tell them to not hold it in for 30 years like I did.
Okay.
Because holding it in, it worked on me mentally. There was depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. Wow. Yeah, definitely tell someone. Had I known at 11 that I could go to school and tell my teacher, I would have.
Right. Yeah. And I know it's tough even to kind of go back there mentally, because you're putting yourself out there, you're making yourself vulnerable, and that this is something that still happens to a lot of little girls and little boys,
yes,
probably every day.
Yes.
It's something that happens. And I'm glad that you are brave enough to tell your story, because not everyone is brave enough to do that and really put themselves out there so that you can help somebody else that may be going through a similar story. And we know that there are probably so many people out there, whether they're 11 or whether they're 8. I've worked with so many people over the years who have dealt with sexual assault and have dealt with child molestation as kids. And, a lot of them didn't tell their story because someone threatened them or said, what, if you tell, I'm going to kill your mom, your dad.
And that happened. That actually happened.
Wow.
That actually happened.
Yeah. And it's a lot because it's real, even though they may not have meant it. It's real. And it's like there's a power that person has over you. Now, they not only have they hurt you.
That's exactly. And when I decided to write this book, So I'm writing it. And when I finished it,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I got my power back. I took it back.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing because so many people just don't feel like they have the strength to take back their power. They
Right.
lose themselves. Like, working with sexual assault victims, adults and children, it's like, it's almost like you feel disassociated from your body. I hear this a lot, like your body's not your own. You don't feel comfortable in your own skin.
I felt ashamed and dirty and disgusted.
Yeah. So knowing that your story, your book, I Need Thee, is going to help bring a lot of people out of that dark space and give them the courage to be able to not necessarily have to face their victim, their perpetrator, but at least having the voice to tell, this happened to me, but I'm not going to allow this to be who I am. I'm not going to be this victim, even though I was victimized. How does you sharing your story and knowing the impact that it will have on others, how does that make you feel to be able to
Oh,
do
that
what
makes
you
me
set up?
feel great.
Yeah,
That makes me feel great. That's what I want. That's
yeah,
exactly what I want. Um, that's what I want.
yeah, yeah.
I want I want others to feel like, well, she did it. So,
Mm,
and they'll be confident enough to do it too.
yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for kind of sharing those parts of you. I know that you talk about a lot of stuff in the books, and I only highlighted a couple of things that I felt were, things that definitely the audience will, need to hear. But you share some other things about your history and your life. And I want to, give you that space if there are other things that you want to highlight about your book or about your experience of being able to put your life out there.
Um, well, I just kind of want to just there's a lot in my book. I talk about, like you say, sexual abuse. I talk about mental health awareness.
Hmm.
I talk about being a teen mom. I talk about being an autism mom. I
Hmm.
talk about unplanned pregnancy. I
Yeah,
talk about finally recognizing my worth.
yeah.
I talk about friendship and forgiveness. I talk about family.
You talk about a
Um,
lot. You jam packed a lot in there, but I think it's amazing that you were able to explore all of those things. And you said earlier that you created a nonprofit
yes.
around your son. Can you speak a little bit more about your nonprofit?
My nonprofit organization, like I said, it's in honor of my son Jalen, who has autism, and it basically just brings awareness to autism. I'm really big on autism.
Mm,
I I mean, it's for people, families, mothers to get together. They can share their stories.
mm.
When I had my son, I was young, and I didn't know what autism was. Had never heard of autism,
Oh wow.
and so I had to kind of figure it out all on my own.
Mm,
So like I want to be that person that others contact and say, hey, I got this going on. Like,
mm.
what did you do? Can you help me out? and
Yeah.
um and that's just what it's about. I do things like I might contact a parent and ask them what's their cash app,
Okay.
and I send money.
Wow.
I don't get on Facebook or nowhere and broadcast it. I
Right.
think what I do for that person or those families is, I mean, it's not for show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I just want to bring understanding and acceptance to of autism to people, to the world.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that's definitely a great organization to start. I've worked with kids who were on the spectrum when I was, I think in my internship, we did group social to help them develop social skills and be able to learn how to interact with other kids and come out of their shells a little bit, because there are a lot of different barriers, and I know you know that experience a lot more than I do working with them once a week for an hour or two. So it's I feel like it is something that more people need to know more about, because I'm seeing a lot more kids at this point that are being born that, parents aren't, they're not tuned in to what's going on, and they're not
And
realizing that.
I can be literally in a store and like I see stuff,
Mm,
small stuff that other people may not see. And I'm like, they're on the spectrum, you
mhm.
know. And I don't say anything because, that's not my place, but I see it.
Yeah. Was it difficult for you to come to terms with that once you were able to recognize that Jalen was on
Oh
the
no,
spectrum?
not at all. Not
Okay.
at all. I just want to help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we found out when he was about 2,
Mm-hmm.
and at 3 he was, already in a program, and but it was rough. It
Yeah.
was a rough, tough road. Still
Mm-hmm.
is.
Wow. Yeah. It's good that you were able to pay attention to what was going on, and you were able to, get services in place pretty quickly, because there are a lot of services out there if you are paying attention and you are connecting with your local doctors, and you're, making sure that you take those steps on the front end when you first see them, because it's difficult waiting till a child is like, 10, 12, older, and you start to see those things. And
Yes.
it's much easier when you see it younger, and you're able to start that process of
Right.
learning how to work with them in order to make sure that life is easier for them, and also reducing some of the stress and anxiety that does come with caring for someone who is on the spectrum, whether they're adult or whether they're a child. So
Right. Right.
yeah, absolutely. So you have a very unique story. You have a lot of things that you have experienced. I know you mentioned, experiencing teenage pregnancy and dealing with that. And I know we're in a very sensitive era right now with things that are going on in the political world, especially as it relates to a woman's right to choose. And, we have a lot of people who are up in arms about Roe versus Wade being overturned. And we don't have to get into all the political stuff related to that, but just kind of knowing your story, obviously you chose to still move forward and have your child, but there are a lot of women out there who now won't have that right. And so definitely no, want to at least highlight that aspect of it. And in terms of just your journey as an educator, because that's something I learned about you today for certain. What drove you? And I don't know, I guess I'm kind of putting it together in my head right now. What caused you to want to go into education?
um, honestly, um, especially special needs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Someone saw me with my son
Mm-hmm.
and said, I think you'll be perfect.
Wow.
And that leads me to believe that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything happened for a reason.
So were you already in academia before that, or did you?
I never honestly wanted I
Okay.
never even thought about it ever.
Mm,
And yeah, like my son is the reason for he's the reason for what I do, why I
mhm.
do it, everything.
Wow. That's amazing. As we were talking and you spoke more about it, I was like, I bet she's in education because of somebody. So I had to ask that. I know. Because it just hit me. I was like, wow, that's amazing, because it's kind of like a full circle experience of you, having all of these things happen and you really like the title of your book, like it just makes a lot more sense, hearing all of what you've experienced and hearing how you were able to take all of that through the help of God, and still with your resilience be able to come through on the other side to tell your story, to help other people. Like you're just absolutely amazing. So I
Thank you.
really appreciate you taking time out of your day to share your book. The time, the blood, sweat, and tears you put into writing your book, and the lives that will be changed because of your book. So I do want you to share with the audience how they can connect with you and how can they purchase I Need Thee.
Well, you can purchase my book on Amazon,
Mhm.
and you can connect with me via email,
Okay.
and my email is author Jacquie Hamilton at gmail.com. Facebook is Jacquie C Hamilton,
Mhm.
and also author Jacquie Hamilton. And on Instagram is at Jacquie Hamilton.
Okay. Gotcha. So you guys have a lot of different ways that you can connect with Jacquie, and make sure you guys go to Amazon to purchase her book. Anyone who is
Yes, yes,
experiencing
yes.
any type of stuff, yes, thank you. Put that out there. We'll make sure we put the link in the description of this episode so that everyone is able to access it and everyone is able to purchase it and support your journey, but also hopefully get delivered from their own demons that they've experienced and their own negative experiences from reading your book. So before we go, I did want you to see if there's anything else that you wanted to share with the audience about the book or just about anything, any words of wisdom that you want to leave with them.
Well, I will say this. I've been asked, like, how did you overcome um being a victim of sexual assault? And I just want to say that I never overcame it. I don't even think you actually overcome it.
Mm,
Um, I kind of blocked it out, and there were places that I just didn't go to.
mm,
Um, and writing my book was the healing. It was the healing process that I needed.
right.
And I prayed.
Yeah.
I'm still praying.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say I love that you got it all out and you did that therapy, but you did the book as your therapy, but if you do still find yourself stuck, connecting with someone that specializes in trauma and being able to work through trauma and sexual assault, because that's something that you don't get over it, you do get through it. And it does sound like you've gotten through it. But if there's
Yes.
any residual stuff there, like you said, you need it. So I'm going to encourage you and push you out there and say, and while we're talking about, your book and that, there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score that talks a lot about overcoming trauma. And so that may be something that can help you as well, so we
Okay.
support you and help you help people because you're giving that real life experience, but
Right.
that may be something that can help everyone and definitely can help you. But thank you so much from the bottom of my
Thank
heart.
you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
allowing for me to have you as a guest, your first interview. Like you said, I really
Yes.
appreciate you stepping outside of your comfort zone to really be able to help and bless other people. So I really appreciate you. Make sure you guys check out her book. Make sure you go to Amazon and get her book. Make sure you connect with her on Facebook, Instagram. Again, all of her information will be in the description of this episode. Also, make sure that you guys connect and follow me, Treaty LPC, on all social media platforms under the handle Treaty LPC. Until next time, please be safe. Please be well. Peace and love, guys. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. I know it may have been difficult for you to listen to, but I want you guys to know that you do not have to suffer in silence. Every 68 seconds, someone in the United States is a victim of sexual assault. There are so many people out there who are afraid to tell their stories because they're afraid of what it may do, what may happen to them or one of their loved ones. But again, you do not have to suffer in silence. If you or someone you may know has been impacted by sexual assault, please reach out to the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit the RAINN.org website, and that's RAINN, RAINN.org. Please do not suffer in silence. There is so much help out there for you. Again, be safe, be well. Take care of yourselves.